Robert heard the courtyard before he saw it. The Red Keep had its own sound when it held its breath, less the bustle of servants and more the quiet friction of armor shifting, boots scraping stone, men swallowing words they would have shouted on any other day. Even the gulls seemed to cry more softly over the Blackwater, as if they had learned the taste of fear and found it unpleasant. They carried him on a litter again, as if he were some broken veteran dragged from a battlefield, and the indignity of it burned hotter than the wound at his side. He would have walked if they'd let him. He would have crawled. But Ned had looked him in the eye and said coldly that if he tore himself open in front of Maegor's Holdfast, he would die as a fool and leave the realm to the very lions he'd finally managed to cage. So Robert lay there, jaw clenched, eyes open, and let his fury do the walking for him. Myrcella and Tommen stood near the center of the yard under guard. Stark men and a few of Barristan's, positioned carefully so that no single hand could snatch them and run. Myrcella held herself like a young queen in training, chin lifted, mouth pressed into a line. Tommen looked as if he might fold in half from sobbing again at any moment. He kept wiping his cheeks with the back of his hand, furious at his own tears. Robert's chest tightened at the sight of them. Not his blood, not his children, and yet he had watched them grow. He had sat them on his knee. He had laughed when Tommen mispronounced his words, had pretended not to notice when Myrcella learned to hide fear behind a smile the way her mother did. Two innocent pieces pulled from a board that had never been fair. Above them, Maegor's Holdfast watched, stone and silence. Archers in red cloaks stood behind arrow slits like shadows with teeth. The postern gate remained shut. The heavy iron bands across it looked darker than the stone, as if the metal itself remembered being forged for murder. "Where is the boy?" Robert rasped, and hated the weakness in his own voice. "Inside," Ned said, walking close enough that Robert could see the exhaustion in his eyes. Sandor Clegane pulled him back at the last moment. "Jaime demanded you come." Robert's mouth twisted. "Jaime demands," he said. "Jaime can demand until his tongue bleeds. I'm the king." Stannis's face was carved from anger. "The boy is their shield," he said. "So long as he remains in there, Cersei has leverage. She is testing the limits of your mercy." Robert's laugh came out as a breath scraped over stone. "My mercy," he said, "like it's some fat purse she can squeeze coin from." Barristan Selmy stepped to the foot of the litter, helm tucked under one arm, eyes raised to Robert's. "Your Grace," he said softly, "they want you close enough to make you choose in front of all these men." Robert followed his gaze. The courtyard ringed with witnesses, gold cloaks under Bywater's grim command, Northmen with hard eyes, Dragonstone men with clenched jaws, lesser lords pretending they were here by accident. Every face was a ledger, every breath an entry. "Let them watch," Robert said. "They watched me be fooled. They can watch me stop being fooled." He lifted his chin toward the Holdfast gate. "Open it," he called, voice gathering what force it could. The words echoed off stone. For a heartbeat, nothing moved. Then the postern door cracked open a handspan, shadow spilling out. Jaime Lannister stepped into the light, bright as a blade, his crimson cloak a streak of blood against the gray yard. Sandor Clegane loomed behind him, and between them, Joffrey, held not by chains but by the weight of men's hands and the knowledge of how quickly an arrow could end a prince's temper. Jaime's eyes went straight to Robert. "Brother," he called, voice carrying, "you should be in bed." Robert bared his teeth. "And you should be in the black," he replied. "Yet here we are, both disappointed." Joffrey's gaze snapped to Robert, hatred tightening his face. For the first time, Robert saw something like fear at the edges of that hatred. Fear not of death, but of humiliation, of being seen as less than what he'd always believed himself to be. Good, Robert thought coldly. Let the boy learn what it is to stand naked in front of the realm. He forced himself to sit up on the litter, ignoring the protest of stitches. "Bring him," he said. Jaime did not move. Stannis took one step forward, and the yard seemed to tighten around him. "Obey," Stannis said. Jaime's smile was thin. "We are discussing terms," he said. "Not giving orders to men who do not trust the hand that holds the whip." Robert's eyes narrowed to slits. "Terms," he repeated. "For my own castle. For my own wife's crimes." He spat to the side. "You've got nerve, Kingslayer." Jaime's hand drifted toward his sword, casual as a lover's touch. "So did you, calling the boy bastard before every lord in the hall," he said. "We all have our moments." Robert felt Ned's gaze on him, steadying and warning at once. "Choose," it said. "Choose in a way that keeps your realm from tearing in half right here." Robert tasted blood where his teeth cut his inner cheek. "Speak," he said. "Your sister's demands. I'll hear them from your mouth." Jaime's eyes flicked toward the arrow slits, then back. "Written guarantee," he said, "that the children taken are treated as royal wards at Storm's End, together, under the faith, that no further public declaration is made calling them bastards while the Queen yields the gates in stages. A show of order, not a spectacle of humiliation." Stannis' laugh was a low, ugly sound. "A lie," he said. "A compromise," Jaime replied. Robert stared at Joffrey. The boy stared back with an expression that dared Robert to blink. Robert did not blink. "All right," he said, voice rough as gravel. "Bring parchment. Ink. Here. Now, if your queen wants my word, she can have it with every witness present. And then she will have mine as well when I come for her." They brought the table as if they were laying out a corpse. 2 servants hauled it into the courtyard, legs scraping stone, the wood stained with old wine rings and knife marks from a dozen hurried counsels. Ink and quills followed, sealing wax and a blank sheet of parchment that looked too clean for the yard it sat in. Robert watched it all with a kind of grim amusement. He had swung a hammer at men in armor and felt less danger than he did facing a blank page with half the realm staring. Ned came close, voice low. "You can give him wardship without giving him legitimacy," he murmured. "Choose the words like you choose footing on ice." Stannis leaned in from the other side, too rigid to truly whisper. "Do not bind yourself to a lie," he said. "If you sign away the truth, you will spend the rest of your reign chasing it like a dog chasing its tail." Robert's fingers closed around the quill. His hand shook. Anger, pain, fever, he didn't know. He hated the shaking. He hated that everyone could see it. "Quiet," he growled, and both men fell back half a breath. Jaime watched with the calm interest of a man observing a duel he knew he could influence. Joffrey stood close to Barristan, shoulder still under Sandor's heavy hand, face tight with fury. Myrcella kept Tommen pressed against her hip, one small arm wrapped around his back. Robert dipped the quill. Ink beaded at the tip like a drop of blood. He began to write. The words came slowly at first, each line a wince. He promised safety. He promised comfort. He promised the faith's oversight. He promised that the children would remain together at Storm's End until further judgment of the crown. He did not write Prince. He did not write Baratheon without the sour addendum of styled. He did not write a single word that acknowledged Cersei's lie as truth. When he finished, Ned took the parchment and read it aloud, voice carrying to every corner of the yard. The words sounded more solid in Ned's mouth than they had under Robert's trembling hand. Jaime's eyes narrowed as he listened, catching the omissions, the careful phrasing. He was too clever not to. "You do not name them royal," Jaime said when Ned finished. "I name them alive," Robert said. "If your sister wants more, she can crawl out and ask for it with her own mouth." Stannis' mouth twisted. "And when she crawls out," he said, "I will put her in chains." Jaime's gaze flicked to Stannis. "You will try," he said lightly. Robert slapped the signet into the wax, hard enough that pain flashed bright behind his eyes. The crowned stag stared back at him from cooling red. "There," he rasped. "My word. Now give me mine." Jaime took the parchment, glanced at it, and nodded once. He turned toward the postern, speaking without looking back. "Send them," he said. The gate cracked wider. A septon stepped out, then another, both pale and sweating. Behind them, a pair of Lannister guards began to move as if to bring Joffrey forward. Sandor's hand tightened. Joffrey jerked, snarling under his breath. Then Jaime lifted one hand, palm up, a small, subtle stop. The guards halted. Ned's eyes sharpened. "What are you doing?" he demanded. Jaime smiled without warmth. "Ensuring my sister hears the king's words before she yields her son," he said. "We are not fools enough to release our last shield on a promise not yet delivered to the one who demands it." Stannis's eyes blazed. "You already have the parchment." Jaime's gaze held his. "She must see the seal," he said, "with her own eyes." Robert's temper flared. "Bring her here," he snarled, "or I'll drag her out by her hair." Jaime's smile did not shift. "She will not come," he said. "Not while you stand with Stark and Stannis at your shoulder, and half your yard smells of fresh blood." He nodded toward the postern. "You will wait." Robert felt the urge to lunge, to stand, to seize Jaime by the throat and shake until the arrogance spilled out of him like loose teeth. But his body was not the hammer it had been. His wound throbbed like a second heart, and in that fraction of hesitation he saw it, the thing Jaime wanted. Time. Time for Cersei to read. Time for a message to slip down a tunnel. Time for a boat to be made ready. Time for a move to happen elsewhere while the king sat pinned to a table like a specimen. Robert's eyes narrowed. He looked past Jaime toward the shadowed crack of the postern, and for an instant he thought he felt air moving from within, colder than the courtyard breeze. "Barristan," Robert said quietly. "Yes, your grace." "Double the watch on every river stair," Robert said. "Every postern, every crack that breathes." His voice hardened. "And find me Varys. Now." Jaime's eyes flickered just once. Then he bowed slightly, mocking his courtesy. "As you command," he said. "We will all do our parts." And behind the stone of Maegor's, the castle's bones shifted again, softly, as if amused. The tunnel smelled of damp stone and old secrets. Varys moved through it with the quiet ease of a man in his own home, lantern held low so the light did not leap. The flame painted his face in soft gold and shadow, making his smile look kinder than it was. Jaime followed close, sword naked in his hand, its edge catching the lantern light in cold flashes. He did not trust the tunnel. He did not trust Varys. He trusted only the fact that this passage, if it existed at all, had been built for flight. Sandor Clegane moved behind them like a bulk of anger, Joffrey tight in his wake. The boy's cloak was plain, rough-spun, the kind worn by stable boys. His hair, hacked short, made his face look sharper, meaner. His eyes glittered in the lantern light. "I hate this," Joffrey whispered, voice strained. "I should be riding out with banners." "You should be silent," Sandor growled, one hand heavy on his collar. "Kings don't live long when they yap in tunnels." Jaime glanced back, irritation flaring. "Let him hate," he muttered. "It will keep him warm." Varys's voice floated ahead, soft as silk. "We are nearly there," he said. "A few more steps, my lords. Mind your heads. Maegor did not build these for tall men. Maegor built them for murder," Jaime said, "and for running when murder went wrong." "Two sides of the same coin," Varys replied mildly. The passage narrowed, then opened into a low chamber where the sound of water grew louder. A thin seam of daylight glimmered through a slit in the stone ahead. The air was colder here, carrying the brackish bite of the Blackwater. A hidden door sat at the end of the chamber, stone-shaped to look like stone, but with a faint, unnatural seam running around it. A man waited beside it in a hooded cloak, hands calloused, face half-hidden. "Boats ready," the boatman whispered. Joffrey's breath quickened. "Where are we going?" he demanded. "Down river," Jaime said. "Far enough that the king's men can't catch you before night. Then to the road. Then to your grandfather." Joffrey's mouth twisted in fierce satisfaction. "Good," he whispered. "He'll burn them all." Jaime's gaze flicked to Varys. "And you," he said softly, dangerous now, "if you've led us into a trap." Varys's lantern hand did not tremble. "If I wished you dead, Lord Jaime," he said, "I would not need tunnels. I would need only patience." Sandor made a low sound, half laugh, half growl. "He's right," he muttered. "This city kills you while you're sleeping." Jaime pressed his lips together. He did not like the truth when it came from mouths like these. Varys stepped to the hidden door and touched a stone that did not belong. Barely a finger width of difference in texture. The mechanism clicked. The door shifted outward with a whisper, letting in a thin blade of gray light and the slap of water against stone. Beyond, a narrow platform hugged the outer wall of the Holdfast, hidden from the courtyard by the angle of the castle. The black water lapped below, dark and slow, carrying the city's stink out to sea. A small boat waited, oars poised. 2 more cloaked men sat within, faces down. Joffrey stared as if he were seeing his own survival made real. "I'm going," he breathed. Sandor shoved him forward. He said, "You're going. And if you scream, I'll throw you in the river and tell your mother the current took you." Joffrey's face went white with rage, but he climbed into the boat. Jaime followed, boots thudding softly on the wood. He crouched beside Joffrey, lowering his voice. "Listen," he said, "you will be king if we do this right, but you must live long enough to wear it. That means obeying. That means silence. That means remembering who your enemies are without showing them your teeth too early." Joffrey swallowed, eyes darting. "Stark," he whispered. "Stannis. Father." Jaime's mouth tightened at the last one. "Yes," he said. "All of them." Varys stood on the platform, lantern hooded now, face a pale oval. "I will send word when you are clear," he murmured. "And I will send other words where they must go." Jaime's eyes narrowed. "What words?" he asked. Varys smiled faintly. "The kind that make men choose quickly," he said. "Men make mistakes when they are rushed." Sandor snorted. "Men make mistakes when they breathe," he muttered, and shoved off with one boot. The boat slid away from the stone, soundless as a thought, slipping into the river's gray skin. Oars dipped with slow, careful strokes. The city began to move behind them, not physically, but in the way a place moved when it was becoming memory. Joffrey leaned forward, staring at the receding wall, and his hands clenched into fists. "I'll come back," he whispered. "I'll come back with fire." Jaime stared ahead into the river fog and wondered, for the first time in a long time, whether the boy's hatred would be enough to win a throne, or only enough to burn everything that might have held it. Behind them, Varys watched until the boat was swallowed by mist. Then he turned his lantern back toward the tunnel. He had other exits to open, other chains to pull. The river stairs were slick with river mist and old algae, the stones worn smooth by centuries of feet and barrels and hurried secrets. Ned had chosen them because they were quiet, because the city's noise faded here beneath the Red Keep's shadow, replaced by the soft slap of water and the occasional creak of rope, because a small boat could wait below like a silent promise, ready to take his daughters downriver without the fanfare that would draw hungry eyes. Quiet was an illusion. Arya felt it the moment her boots touched the first stair. The air was wrong, too still, as if even the river had stopped breathing. Syrio's hand brushed her elbow, guiding her down, his movements loose but alert. Stark men flanked them, 5 ahead, 5 behind, and yet Arya could feel the darkness between those men as if it were a living thing. Sansa walked with her hood up, shoulders tight, hands hidden in her sleeves. She did not look at the river. She did not look at the city. She looked only at the next step, as if staring hard enough could make it safe. "Keep your feet," Syrio murmured. The words meant for Arya, but carrying to Sansa too. Sansa did not answer. Arya did. "Always," she whispered back, fingers on Needle's hilt beneath her cloak. The boat waited below, low in the water, a single lantern hooded so its light did not shout. 2 men in stark colors sat within, oars ready. One raised a hand when he saw them. Then the first scream broke the quiet. Not from a man, but from a gull startled into flight. A shadow moved at the top of the stairs. "Hold!" A Stark guard snapped, turning. Too late. Men in plain cloaks surged out of the alleys like rats from a cracked wall. 3, 5. More than Arya could count in the first heartbeat. Steel flashed. A short crossbow twanged. A Stark man jerked, the bolt buried in his throat. He made a wet sound and toppled sideways, thudding down the steps. "Down!" Syrio barked. Arya dropped without thinking, sliding on wet stone, needle already in her hand. Sansa froze, just for a breath too long, until a Stark guard grabbed her arm and yanked her down behind him. "Take the girls!" someone shouted. "To the boat!" A blade slashed toward Arya. She caught it on needle with a sharp ring that shocked her, real steel on real steel. Syrio was already moving, not with the showy arcs of knights, but with the economy of a man who had seen alley fights in Bravos where the first cut decided everything. He struck a man's wrist, then his throat, then stepped aside as another attacker stumbled past, off balance, and fell hard onto the stairs. Syrio's practice sword was not sharp, but in his hands it became a club that broke bones as efficiently as any mace. "Gio!" he shouted. Sansa's eyes were wide. She had not screamed yet, but Arya could see the scream lodged in her throat, swelling. The Stark guard half-dragged her down 2 steps at a time. Another guard shoved Arya toward them. "Lady Arya," he snapped. "Move!" Arya moved, then stopped when she saw Syrio. 2 attackers had come at him together. One slashed high, one low. Syrio pivoted, caught the high strike on his stick, and kicked the low attacker in the knee with brutal precision. Bone cracked. The man went down howling. The second attacker lunged again, steel aimed for Syrio's gut. Syrio stepped in, too close for the blade to gain speed, and slammed his forehead into the man's face. The attacker staggered, nose broken. Syrio's stick came up and down once, twice, and the man collapsed limp. But more came, always more. A crossbow bolt hissed past Arya's ear and struck the wooden railing near the water, vibrating. She flinched, then forced herself to breathe. Fear cuts deeper than swords, she reminded herself, and felt anger rise up like heat in her chest to burn the fear away. Another Stark man fell, blade in his belly. He clutched at it, eyes shocked, as if he could not believe the city had reached this deep into the king's shadow. He slid down the stairs slowly, leaving a smear of blood on stone. "Lady Sansa," the boatman called, voice tight. "Now!" Sansa was nearly there, half-crouched, hair escaping her hood, face streaked with river mist and terror. "Jump!" Syrio shouted, and Arya realized he was not speaking to Sansa. He was speaking to her. Arya's feet moved before her mind did. She leapt the last steps, landing hard, sliding, and then she was in the boat, hands grabbing for balance. A Stark man shoved Sansa in after her, and the boat rocked dangerously. "Push off!" the boatman hissed. Oars dug into the water. The boat began to move, slow at first, then faster as the current caught it. Arya twisted, looking back. Syrio stood halfway up the stairs, stick in hand, breathing hard. Stark men formed a ragged line around him, buying time, dying for it. The plaincloaks pressed, snarling, desperate now that their prize was slipping away. Syrio's gaze found Arya's for an instant across the water. "Feet!" he shouted one last time. Then a man in a gold cloak stepped out from the alley above, sword in hand, face hard and eager. Meryn Trant. Arya's stomach dropped. She saw Syrio shift, saw his shoulders set. The boat slid farther into the river's gray, the lantern shrinking. Sansa clutched the side of the boat, lips moving in silent prayer, tears spilling freely now. Arya watched until the stairs blurred in mist. She did not see Syrio fall. She only saw him still standing as the river took her away, and she clung to that image like a knife in her fist. News reached the king the way blood reached a wound. Fast, hot, impossible to ignore. Barristan found them in a corridor outside the rookery, white cloak flaring as he moved with a speed that belied his years. His breath came hard, his face set. "Your Grace," he said, Robert was on his feet only because two men held him. He hated their hands on him. He hated the way his body sagged when he tried to pull away. But rage held him upright like a spine. "What?" he snarled. "An attack at the river stairs," Barristan said. "Plaincloaks, crossbows. It was meant for Lord Stark's daughters." Ned's face went white, then hard. "Where are they?" he demanded. "On a boat," Barristan replied. "Downriver, alive." But his jaw clenched. There were losses. Syrio Farrell held the stair long enough for them to push off. Arya's name flashed in Robert's mind like lightning. Sansa's pale face. Children again pulled into the teeth of their war. Robert's hands clenched into fists. "Cersei," he breathed. It was not a name. It was a promise. Stannis's voice came cold behind him. "This ends now," he said. Ned's eyes were burning. "If my daughters had been taken," he began. "They weren't," Robert snapped, though his own stomach churned at the near miss. "And thank every god that listens. Because if they were, I'd burn Maegor's Holdfast stone by stone with my own hands." Ned's gaze locked on him. "Then do it," he said low and deadly, "because she will try again. She will not stop until she has a hostage to hold over my throat." Robert turned, pain lancing his side with the movement. He ignored it. "Bywater," he barked to the nearest guard. "Find him. Tell him to seal every gate, every river door. Anyone leaving the castle gets searched. Anyone entering gets searched twice. And if you find a man with a crossbow who can't explain it, you hang him from the walls." The guard ran. Barristan swallowed, then said the thing Robert had been waiting for without knowing it. "And Joffrey," Barristan added. "He is gone." For a heartbeat, the corridor went silent. Ned's eyes widened. "Gone," he repeated. "From Maegor's." Barristan nodded. "We found the parley stalled. Jaime was still in the yard, pretending. But the boy, he was not where he should have been. Sandor Clegane vanished from the gate. We searched the Holdfast doors. No one passed. Which means... "Tunnels," Ned said, the word bitter. Stannis's face looked carved from ice now. "They have smuggled him out," he said. "So he can be crowned elsewhere while we sit here arguing over parchment." Robert felt the world tilt, not from weakness but from the sudden, brutal clarity of it. Cersei had given up 2 children and kept the one that mattered. Worse, she had taken his mercy and used it like a knife, buying time to slip her precious heir away. And while Robert's eyes had been on Maegor's gate, her hands had reached for Stark's daughters too. A mother with claws, indeed. "Get me to the yard," Robert growled. "Your Grace," Ned began. "Now," Robert roared, and the shout tore at his wound so sharply, he saw black spots swim in his vision. He gritted his teeth until it passed. "Carry me if you have to, but get me there." They moved. As they went, Robert's mind churned. Joffrey on the road to Tywin. Renly in Highgarden with roses and smiles. The Riverlands burning. His own castle crawling with tunnels like a corpse with worms. He had wanted to do this clean. Clean was a lie men told themselves before the blood started. Stannis kept pace at his shoulder. "Once the boy is out," he said, voice low, "there is no reason to hold back." Ned's jaw was tight enough to crack teeth. "My daughters are gone," he said. "If Cersei wants hostages, she must take them from the river." Robert's lips peeled back. "Then she'll find the river cold," he said, "because I'm done pretending she deserves mercy." He glanced at Barristan. "Find me every Kingsguard still loyal," he snapped. "Every man in white who remembers what vows are. I want them at my door in 5 minutes." Barristan bowed once and was gone like a blade thrown true. Robert's voice dropped to a rasp as they reached the courtyard, where men were already gathering again, drawn by the smell of the next decision. "Maegor built a fortress inside my fortress," Robert said. "Today we tear it open." They did not storm Maegor's that night, not because Stannis lacked the will, not because Ned lacked the anger, not because Robert lacked the desire. They did not storm it because every wall had ears. and because the Holdfast had tunnels. If Cersei could slip a prince out through stone, she could slip wildfire in through it too. She could slip men with knives. She could slip poison into cisterns. So they gathered instead in a smaller war room, a place that had once been a storeroom for tapestries, and now held maps and charcoal marks and men's hard breaths. Stannis stood over the map like a judge over a corpse. His finger stabbed down at a spot near the river wall. "Here," he said, "and here, and here. I have spoken to old masons and guards who served before Robert. Maegor's has at least 2 hidden river doors and 1 tunnel that runs toward the stables. If we attack from the main gate, she will disappear into stone again." Ned's hand tightened around the dagger he used to hold the map's corner. "Then we find the tunnels," he said. "We seal them." "With what?" Davos asked. "Stone? You can't seal what you can't see." Barristan's eyes were thoughtful. "We can smoke them," he said. "Not with fire, too dangerous, but with damp straw, thick smoke. If there is a hidden door, smoke will find it. Men will cough. Someone will open something to breathe." Stannis's mouth tightened. "And if she opens it onto a river platform again, she'll send men out with bows," he said. "We'll lose good men without ever touching her." Ned lifted his sword, expression hardening into the face he wore on battlefields. "Careful," he warned. "If Cersei is cornered, she will bite," Robert finished. "Good. I want her biting where I can see." The stone gave another small crack. A gap opened wide enough to push a hand through. Smoke poured in. From within, a cough. Another, the sound of boots scrambling. Barristan raised his hand. White cloaks shifted forward, blades ready. Stannis's voice was almost prayer. "At last," he whispered. Ned did not answer. His mind was on his daughters, already downriver in darkness, and on the boy who had escaped to become a banner for war. Robert's eyes burned as he stared at the widening crack. "Maegor built this place to keep kings out," he rasped. "Tonight, we remind it who the king is." And as the wall seam began to open, the Red Keep held its breath again, waiting to see whether the lioness would be dragged into the light, or whether she would set her own trap in the dark and take half the castle with her when she sprang it. The river swallowed sound the way snow swallowed footsteps. Fog lay thick over the Blackwater, turning the world into a smear of gray. The oars dipped and rose with careful rhythm, each stroke a quiet effort not to announce itself. The boat slid through the mist like a rumor. Joffrey sat hunched beneath his hood, hands clenched so tight his nails bit his palms. He hated the smell of the river, mud and rot and fish. He hated the damp that crept into his clothes. He hated the way the boatmen refused to look at him, as if ignoring him could make him less dangerous. He hated most of all that he had been moved like contraband. Jaime sat opposite him, sword laid across his knees, eyes scanning the fog as if he expected a ghost ship to appear with Stark's wolf on its sail. Sandor crouched at the bow, silent and grim, the curve of his great body making the small boat feel smaller. "How far?" Joffrey demanded at last. Jaime's eyes flicked to him. "Far enough," he said. "That's not an answer," Joffrey snapped. Jaime's mouth tightened. "It's the only answer you get," he said. "You're alive. Be grateful. There are boys in Flea Bottom who would kill for a boat ride out of that city." "I'm not a boy in Flea Bottom," Joffrey hissed. "I'm the king." "You will be," Jaime said, "if you stop trying to prove it every breath." Joffrey's throat worked. The fog made the river feel endless, a limbo where time stretched and nothing was certain. Somewhere behind them, in stone and smoke, men were shouting his name as curse and claim. Somewhere behind them, his mother waited in a cage of her own making. He pictured her face at the arrow slit, eyes sharp, mouth pressed thin, watching him vanish downriver. The thought made something in his chest twist. Not tenderness, never that, but a fierce possessive fear of being separated from the only person who had ever assured him he was meant for greatness. "They called her a traitor," he whispered. "They'll hang her." Jaime's gaze went hard. "Not if we win," he said. "And how do we win?" Joffrey demanded. grandfather will come. He'll burn them all. He'll take the city and put Stark's head on a spike and then what? Jaime interrupted, voice sharpening. And then you sit a throne in a city that hates you? In a realm that thinks you were made by incest and lies? Victory isn't just taking the castle. It's making them accept it afterward. Joffrey stared at him, stunned by the audacity of being contradicted. I don't care if they accept it, he said. They'll obey. Sandor made a low, humorless sound. That's what they all say, he muttered. Right up until the mob drags them off their horses. Joffrey glared at him. You'll address me. Sandor's head turned, slow as a wolf. You'll keep your mouth shut, he said, or I'll keep it shut for you. Joffrey swallowed hard and looked away. He hated Sandor almost as much as he hated his father. No, not his father, he corrected bitterly, the thought like acid. The man who had called him bastard. The man who had raised a hand against him and then, worse, raised words against him in front of the whole realm. Robert Baratheon. His hatred for Robert was clean, bright, and simple. Or dipped, the boat drifted around a bend. The fog thinned just enough that the outline of the city walls appeared in the distance. Dark, jagged, monstrous. King's Landing looked smaller from here, and yet it still held him in its grip like a fist around a throat. I'll come back, Joffrey whispered. Jaime did not answer. Sandor did. He said, voice rough. You'll come back. And if you're smart, you'll come back with men who know how to kill without making speeches. Joffrey's hands clenched again. He leaned forward, staring at the distant walls until his eyes ached. He imagined the throne room, the blood on stone. He imagined Ned Stark's face, cold and righteous. He imagined Stannis Baratheon's hard mouth. He imagined Robert on a litter, pale and still roaring like a dying boar. He imagined them all kneeling. The boat slid on, swallowed by fog, carrying a boy who thought himself king and did not yet understand that the river did not care for crowns.
Highgarden dressed war in Silk.
The sept they chose was not the great September of Baelor with its towering dome and city crowds, but a smaller, intimate place where roses climbed the stone and the air smelled of crushed petals underfoot. Even here, even in prayer, the Reach could not help making beauty of everything. Renly stood before the septon with Margaery Tyrell at his side and felt the weight of eyes like sunlight on his skin. Lords of the Reach filled the benches. Rowans and Redwynes, Florents with their tight mouths, Tarleys with their stern faces. Stormlords as well, men who had followed Renly out of King's Landing because they liked his smile better than Stannis' frown. They watched him as if deciding whether to worship or to devour. Margaery's hand slid into his, light as a promise. Her face was composed, her smile soft, but Renly could feel the steel in her beneath the silk. She was not frightened. She was ready. When the septon spoke of vows, of union, of the seven blessing the bond, Renly listened with half an ear. His mind was on ravens and roads, on news that arrived faster than any hymn could drown. The queen caged, the king wounded, Stannis in the red keep like a spear driven into stone. Joffrey, gone if Loras' scouts were right, smuggled out under fog. The realm's center weakening. Perfect time, he thought, and hated that the thought felt true. When the septon asked if he took Margaery, he answered firmly. When he placed the cloak over her shoulders, rose and stagged together, the Reach lords murmured approval like a field of grass bending to wind. Olenna Tyrell watched from her chair, eyes sharp as needles. When Renly glanced toward her, she gave him the smallest nod, as if to say, now you are bound. Now you are ours as much as we are yours. Do not forget. After, in the hall that smelled of lemon cakes and ambition, Mace Tyrell raised a cup of arbor gold. To the future king, he boomed. The lords echoed it, some with enthusiasm, some with calculation. Renly smiled, lifting his own cup. He did not say king yet, not aloud, but when Loras leaned close, voice low and urgent, Renly did not pretend he did not understand. Stannis will call you traitor, Loras murmured. Robert will call you worse. They will send ravens demanding you bend. Renly's smile remained. "They can send ravens," he said. "I will send banners." Margaery's gaze met his across the table. Her expression was calm, almost affectionate. "Do not wait too long," she said softly. "Men choose the side that looks certain." Renly's fingers tightened around his cup. "Certainty is a costume," he said. "Stannis wears it because it's all he has. I'll wear it because it suits me." Outside, the reach gathered like a tide. Horses were shod. Spears were counted. Campfires began to dot the hills beyond Highgarden's walls like stars fallen to earth. And in that bloom of preparation, Renly finally let himself think the word without flinching. "King." They found the mountains trail the way one found rot, by the smell. Smoke on the wind, a faint tang of burned hair, the greasy scent of fat from a cook fire that had roasted something more than meat. The Riverlands were a tapestry of such scents now, and Beric Dondarrion rode through it with his jaw clenched and his eyes stinging from ash. They came upon a camp after dusk, hidden among trees, the ground churned by horses. The men there were not Lannister soldiers in neat ranks. They were wolves in lion skins, armed, vicious, half-drunk, laughing too loud. Beric watched from the tree-lean, breath fogging. "There," he whispered. "That's them." His men shifted behind him, hungry for justice. Northmen with their hard silence, Stormlanders with clenched fists, Crownland knights eager to prove themselves. Thuras of Myr swung down from his horse beside Beric, red robe dark in the night. He stared at the campfire, eyes reflecting flame. "Fire," he murmured. "They worship it without knowing." Beric's mouth tightened. "They worship cruelty," he said. "We end it," he signaled. Men slipped forward like shadows, blades drawn. The plan was simple. Strike fast, kill the leaders, scatter the rest before they could mount. Simple plans broke on messy men. A sentry spotted them at the last moment and shouted. The camp erupted. Men grabbed swords. Horses screamed. Someone hurled a cup of wine that shattered in the fire, sending sparks up. Beric rode in anyway, stag banner low, sword raised. His first cut took a man's arm at the elbow. His second took a throat. He shouted the king's name, and his men echoed it, and for a heartbeat it sounded like justice made flesh. Then a massive figure rose near the fire. Too big to be human, it seemed, a mountain of armor and rage. Gregor Clegane. He moved with shocking speed for his size, greatsword swinging in an arc that split a man from shoulder to hip. Blood sprayed. The camp roared approval like dogs cheering a kill. Beric's stomach went cold. "Hold!" he shouted. "Do not cluster." But men clustered anyway. Fear and hunger pulled them close, and Gregor's blade punished them for it. Thuras rode in on Beric's flank, his sword wrapped in cloth soaked in oil. He struck the cloth with flint and steel, and the blade caught fire with a sudden hungry flare. Men shouted in awe and fear. "Erchlor!" Thuras bellowed, and drove the burning sword into a raider's chest. The man screamed, fire blooming through mail. Beric did not have time to marvel. Gregor Clegane was coming for him, eyes hidden behind a helm shaped like a snarling beast. Beric met him.
Steel run.
The impact numbed Beric's arms to the elbow. Gregor pressed, heavy and brutal. Beric ducked under a sweeping cut, rolled in mud, came up slashing at Gregor's knee. The blade glanced off armor like a tooth on stone. Gregor laughed, a deep, awful sound. Then his fist caught Beric across the face. Stars burst in Beric's vision. He staggered. A man behind him, one of Beric's own, screamed as Gregor's sword took him. Beric raised his shield. Another blow came. The shield splintered. Thurza's flaming sword flashed near Beric's shoulder. Fire licked at Gregor's armor, but the mountain did not flinch. He swung, and Thuras barely ducked, flames trailing. They were outmatched, Beric realized with a sick clarity. Not in right, not in purpose, in raw, ugly strength. "Fall back," he shouted. "To the trees! Fall back!" Some obeyed, others did not, trapped in the red fog of battle. Beric fought his way backward, slashing at any man who came too close, dragging a wounded Northman by the collar when the man's leg failed. As they fled into the trees, the camp behind them crackled with fire. Thoris's work and the raiders' own, mingling. Screams rose, then faded. Beric rode until his lungs burned. At last, in a hollow where the trees pressed close, he halted. His men gathered in ragged numbers, panting, bloody, shaken. They had not won. They had not even hurt Gregor Clegane in any way that mattered. Beric stared into the darkness, fists trembling. "I swore," he whispered, more to himself than anyone. "I swore the king's justice would reach them." Thoris stood beside him, the fire on his sword guttering out. His face was streaked with soot. His eyes were bright, fevered. "Justice is a long road," he murmured. "Sometimes it must be walked more than once." Beric did not like the sound of that, but he had the grim sense that the Riverlands would not let him stop walking, even if his feet bled to bone. Night made everything sharper. Torchlight through the red, keep into a world of stark edges and deep shadows, turning men into silhouettes that carried steel. The air was colder now, the river wind finding every gap in stone. It tasted of damp straw and smoke, because they had begun already, quietly, methodically, as men prepared to crack open a fortress that had been built to resist kings. Barrels of water were rolled into place. Bundles of damp straw were piled near vents and seams in the stone. Men carried hooks and chisels, hammers meant for stone rather than skull. Siege ladders waited like skeletal fingers. A ram, small because the courtyard did not allow larger, was positioned under cover of shields. At the top of the stair, Robert's litter rested. He refused to go back to bed. He refused to be absent from the moment when his castle would either be reclaimed or lost forever. Ned stood below him, sword in hand, face grim. Stannis stood beside Ned, posture rigid, blade angled downward like a promise. Barristan Selmy moved among the men in white, speaking in low, precise orders, turning knights into instruments rather than ornaments. "Smoke first," Barristan said. "Find the breathing places. No one rushes. No one panics." Robert watched the holdfast wall, eyes narrowed. A faint ribbon of smoke seeped from a seam near the base, curling upward like a ghost. "There," Stannis said, voice low and satisfied. "A crack." Ned's mouth tightened. "Or a vent," he said. "A crack," Stannis repeated, and his certainty made Ned's skin prickle. Robert's voice rasped from above. "Varys?" he demanded. A guard stepped forward, bowing. "Gone, your grace," he said. His chambers were empty. No sign of struggle, just silk and scent. Robert's hands clenched against the litter's edge. So the spider had slipped away the moment the web was threatened. Or perhaps he had slipped into another corner, waiting to see who bled and who won. "Find him," Robert snarled. "Alive if possible. If not, bring me enough of him to prove he had a head." "Yes, your grace," the guard said and ran. Ned's gaze flicked up to Robert. "If Varys helped Joffrey escape," he said quietly, "the realm will hear a different story by morning." "Let them hear," Robert growled. "I'm done caring what they whisper while my castle is being carved from the inside." Stannis stepped closer to the wall where smoke seeped. Men with chisels moved in, tapping stone, listening for hollowness. The tapping echoed softly, unnerving in the quiet. A sudden shout came from within the holdfast. Muffled, distant. A woman's voice raised in anger. Cersei, perhaps, or a guard, or a servant pressed too hard. Then silence again. "They're watching," Ned murmured. "Let them," Stannis said. "They cannot watch every shadow." Robert's gaze went to the seam again, and for a moment he imagined Joffrey slipping through it like an eel, slipping away while Robert sat signing parchment like a fool. He tasted bitter laughter. "Open it," he said. The chisels bit deeper. Stone chipped. A thin gust of colder air breathed out, carrying with it the faint smell of sweat and lamp oil from inside. "A passage," Barristan said, voice tight. Stannis' eyes shone with vindication. "Now," he said, "now we take their bones." Ned lifted his sword, expression hardening into the face he wore on battlefields. "Careful," he warned. "If Cersei is cornered, she will bite." Robert finished. "Good. I want her biting where I can see." The stone gave another small crack. A gap opened wide enough to push a hand through. Smoke poured in. From within, a cough. Another. The sound of boots scrambling. Barristan raised his hand. White cloaks shifted forward, blades ready. Stannis' voice was almost prayer. "At last," he whispered. Ned did not answer. His mind was on his daughters, already downriver in darkness, and on the boy who had escaped to become a banner for war. Robert's eyes burned as he stared at the widening crack. "Maegor built this place to keep kings out," he rasped. "Tonight, we remind it who the king is." And as the wall's seam began to open, the Red Keep held its breath again, waiting to see whether the lioness would be dragged into the light, or whether she would set her own trap in the dark and take half the castle with her when she sprang it. Smoke made the tunnel feel alive. It crawled along the floor in low, thick waves, hugging the stone as if searching for ankles. It stung the eyes and scraped the throat raw with each breath. It turned torchlight into a sickly blur, making every shadow look like a man with a knife. The hole in the wall was barely wide enough for a knight's shoulders, and the stone edges bit at cloaks and armor as they squeezed through. Barristan Selmy went first because that was what he had always done. The white cloak was already stained in places where blood had found it earlier, but he moved as if it were still new and spotless, as if vows could be kept clean even when the world was filthy. His sword was bare, its point low, his steps careful in the damp. Behind him came Arys Oakhart with his jaw tight and his eyes forward, then Aaron Santagar, then two more men in white who had chosen the king over the queen when the first spears turned. After them came Stark men, hard-faced, shoulders hunched against the closeness. Ned came last through the gap, feeling the stone scrape at his mail, the smoke catching in his lungs like old grief. The tunnel sloped downward. The air grew colder. Somewhere ahead, through the cough-choked silence, Ned heard hurried feet and the clink of armor that did not belong to any of them. Barristan lifted a hand, fingers spread. The men behind him froze, breathing shallowly, listening. A cough echoed ahead, wet and panicked. Another followed, sharper. Then a voice, hoarse. "Open, open it." Stones scraped. A sudden gust of cleaner air pulled the smoke forward as if the tunnel itself exhaled. Barristan moved. He flowed through the darkness with sudden speed, blade flashing, shoulder lowering. The first Lannister guard appeared out of the smoke like a startled animal, eyes watering, spear half raised. Barristan's sword took him in the throat with a clean thrust, so quick the man made no sound at all, only a bubbling gasp as he fell. The second guard tried to shout, but smoke stole his breath. Arys Oakhart smashed the flat of his blade into the man's face, cracking bone, then drove him backward into the wall. Santagar finished it with a short, brutal cut that opened the belly. Blood poured into the smoke, darkening it. Ned stepped over the first body, senses sharpening. The tunnel opened into a narrow stone corridor with a low ceiling and a line of vents near the floor. Smoke drifted through those vents into the Holdfast's deeper belly. Whoever had built this place had thought about air, thought about escape, thought about how to breathe while others choked. And now the tunnel was breathing them into the queen's teeth. "Forward," Barristan whispered, and they moved. The corridor turned twice, then widened into a small chamber where a ladder climbed to a trapdoor above. Smoke curled up the rungs like a serpent. Ned saw scratches on the ladder's wood, fresh and frantic. Someone had climbed in haste. Barristan placed his palm against the trapdoor, feeling for vibration, for movement. He cocked his head and listened. Above, faint, muffled voices, shouting now, confused, angry. "Hold," Barristan mouthed. Arys Oakhart nodded, grim. Santagar's nostrils flared as he fought not to cough. Ned could feel his heart in his throat, could taste iron on his tongue. He thought of Arya's small fingers on Needle's hilt, of Sansa staring at a letter like it was salvation, of the river stairs slick with blood and mist. If they failed here, it would not end with Cersei. It would spill outward, into the streets, into the Riverlands, into Winterfell. Barristan rose one step onto the ladder, silent. Another. His gloved hand slid to the latch. He waited. Above, a man shouted, "They're in the walls." Another voice, higher, harsher, answered, "Then smoke them back. Bring oil." Cersei, Ned thought. Barristan pulled. The trapdoor popped open a handspan, and smoke poured upward like a curse escaping. A spear point stabbed down. Barristan twisted, the spear scraping his shoulder instead of his eye. He drove his sword up in the same motion, through the gap, and the spear jerked away with a choked cry. Arys Oakheart surged onto the ladder behind him, pushing, and together they burst through the trapdoor into a low storage room stacked with barrels and sacks. Smoke rolled in after them, thick as wool. 2 Lannister guards waited with spears. One already bled from Barristan's cut. His hands shook as he tried to steady the shaft. The other lunged blindly. Arys took the first spear on his shield, shoved, then hacked down, severing fingers. The guard screamed and dropped his weapon. Santagar followed, stepping out of the trap with a grunt, and buried his sword in the man's chest. The second guard tried to run. Ned came up through the trapdoor like a wolf through brush and caught him by the cloak. He yanked hard. The man fell backward, choking, and Ned's blade kissed his throat. "Where is the queen?"
Ned demanded.
The guard's eyes were wide, white-rimmed with smoke and fear. He coughed, "Inner." Ned pressed the blade closer, enough to draw a thin red line. "Where?" he repeated. "Inner hall," the guard rasped. "Above. She's moving, she's." His gaze darted to the door. Panic 1. He jerked away, and Ned's sword cut him cleanly. The man crumpled with a wet sigh, blood pooling under sacks of grain. Barristan wiped his blade on a fallen cloak, eyes already scanning the room's other doorways. "She knows," he said softly. Ned's throat burned. "Then we move faster than her fear," he replied. Barristan nodded once. They pushed into the Holdfast proper, smoke at their backs, steel in their hands, and the sound of Maegor's fortress waking to invasion ran ahead of them like thunder through stone. Cersei felt the Holdfast change before anyone spoke it. Stone had a language, if you lived long enough in castles to learn it. The faint tremor underfoot when men ran in boots, the subtle draft when a hidden seam opened, the hush that fell when fear spread faster than orders. Smoke came first, creeping through vents that had never once betrayed her before. Thickened, tasting of damp straw and something else, intent. Men coughed in corridors. Archers along the arrow slits blinked tears from their eyes and cursed. "They're in the walls," a guard wheezed, face red with strain. Someone's opened." "Shut the vents," Cersei snapped. "We can't," the man coughed. "They're stone." "Then block them," she said. "With cloth. With your hands. With your lungs if you must." A servant girl sobbed near the wall, hands pressed to her mouth. A septon whispered prayers rapidly, words tumbling over each other like frightened birds. Cersei ignored them all. She stood in the inner hall, where the ceilings were lower and the walls thicker, and watched her remaining men form a line. Shields up, spears angled, eyes raw from smoke. This was not the polished parade of Lannister might she had imagined. It was a desperate thing, but desperate things bit hardest. "Oil," she said. 2 men rolled a barrel forward, grunting. The smell hit her, thick, rancid, clinging. They positioned it at the top of a narrow stair that twisted down toward one of the underpassages. "If they come up that stair," Cersei said, "you tip it." A guard swallowed. "And if it burns?" he asked. "It won't," she said. "Not unless you're too stupid to bring a torch near it." She turned her gaze toward the far corridor, where the Holdfast's old secrets lived. Somewhere down there was the river door Varys had opened for Joffrey. Somewhere down there was another way out that Varys had not shown them, because spiders never showed all their webs. Jaime was gone, Sandor with him, Joffrey carried away like a dagger hidden in fog. 2 children taken from her arms and now sitting somewhere in the Red Keep under Stark's watchful eyes, frightened and confused and ripe for shaping by enemy kindness. Her stomach twisted at that thought, not because she loved kindness, because she knew how easily children could be turned when you fed them sweetness after fear. If they get their hands on Tommen long enough, she thought, they will make him apologize for being born. A small part of her wanted to laugh. The rest wanted to claw. She reached into the fold of her gown and touched the smooth glass hidden there. A small flask, green as deep water, sealed with wax. Not wildfire, nothing so uncontrolled. This was smaller, controlled. Alchemist's work, bought quietly through men who believed they were selling perfume. Enough to blind, enough to burn flesh, enough to turn a narrow corridor into screaming chaos for 3 heartbeats. Long enough to escape. She had not wanted it. She had not wanted to rely on anything she could not command. But she had learned, in this castle of men and vows, that command was a story. Sometimes you needed a truth that hurt. "Where is Varys?" she demanded. A guard shook his head, coughing. "Gone," he rasped. Of course, she thought. Gone the moment the spider's thread snapped. She scanned the faces around her. Men she had paid, men she had threatened, men who served her because they feared her father more than they feared the king. Their eyes held a flicker of something new now, doubt. Fear could be turned, but doubt was poison. "Listen," Cersei said, voice cutting through the coughing. "They will tell you Robert is king and I am traitor. They will tell you Stannis is heir and the realm demands my head. They will tell you mercy and law and honor." She stepped closer to the line, letting them see her face, letting them taste her certainty. "I tell you this," she said softly. "If they take me, you will be left behind. You will be named accomplices. Stannis will hang you. Stark will let him. Robert will pretend it wasn't his fault." A few men shifted, swallowing. "But if you hold," she continued, "if you buy me time, if you keep them from reaching this hall for only a short while, then you will be rewarded beyond anything Stark's cold honor can offer. Tywin Lannister does not forget those who serve." She let Tywin's name hang. It had weight here, always had. Somewhere down the corridor, a faint metallic ring, steel on stone, echoed. Then another, closer. "They're coming," a man whispered. Cersei nodded. "Yes," she said, "and so are we." She turned to the side corridor where the deeper passage began. "2 men with me," she ordered. "No more. Too many feet make too much noise." "Where are you going?" The Septon croaked, eyes wide. Cersei looked at him as if he were an insect. "To survive," she said. She gestured to the oil barrel. "Hold," she commanded. "When they come, tip it. Do not let them pass. Do not let them see what I do." One of the guards, young, sweat-sheened, eyes red from smoke, hesitated. "Your Grace," he began. "If you leave, if I stay," she cut in, "I die. And then you die too. Decide which future you prefer." The young guard's mouth closed. He nodded. Cersei slipped into the side corridor with 2 chosen men at her heels, smoke curling around her like a cloak. Her hand brushed the green glass flask in her gown. Her mind counted steps, remembered turns, felt the Holdfast's bones beneath her feet. Behind her, the line held. Ahead, the secret ways waited. And somewhere in the castle, Eddard Stark and Barristan Selmy moved through her walls like knives. Let them, she thought, lips curling without humor. If they want a lioness cornered, I will show them how lions bite in the dark. Bywater had learned to trust smoke. Not because smoke always told truth, but because it was too stupid to lie. It went where air went, found cracks. It betrayed secret seams. It curled out of places men swore were solid. When the first thin ribbons seeped from the river wall beneath Maegor's, Bywater felt something cold settle behind his ribs. There, he said. His men shifted, spears angling. Torches flared, their light trembling on the dark water below. The river door was half hidden behind a jut of stone, a narrow platform where algae slicked the edges. It looked like nothing, like a mistake in architecture. Smoke made it look like a mouth. A faint click came from within the stone. Bywater raised one hand, clenched. The stone shifted. A seam widened. A man burst out coughing, face streaked with soot, eyes wild. He wore no red cloak, no lion badge, only plain cloth and panic. He froze when he saw spear points. "Stop," Bywater said. His voice was calm. "Hands out." The man's hands came up, trembling. He coughed. "I'm not. You're coming out of a secret door in Maegor's Holdfast," Bywater said. "That makes you exactly what you're trying not to be." The man tried to bolt back inside. A spear but cracked into his ribs. He went down with a grunt. Wind knocked from him. 2 gold cloaks hauled him up and slammed him against the stone. "Name," Bywater said. The man spat phlegm and blood. "Garren," he rasped. "Kitchen runner. She sent me." Bywater repeated. The runner's eyes darted, calculating, and Bywater saw it. The choice between dying now and dying later. "The Queen," the runner whispered. "Cersei Lannister. She's moving," she said. "She said there's another way out. Stable tunnel. She wants..." He coughed hard, head lolling. "She wants men to open it from the inside." Bywater's mouth went tight. "Where does it come out?" The runner shook his head, tears leaking from raw eyes. "I don't know," he sobbed. "I swear. She only said stables. That's all. She had 2 guards with her. She said if I failed." Bywater did not need to hear the threat. He knew Cersei's kind. He glanced up the stairway. Ned Stark stood above on the inner steps, cloak flaring, face grim as he watched the river door scene below. Men moved around him, shouting orders, lanterns bobbing. Bywater raised his voice. "Lord Stark." Ned's head snapped toward him. "Runner says the Queen's heading for a stable tunnel," Bywater called. "Likely exit near the inner stables or the dry moat. We need men posted." Ned's face hardened. He lifted one hand, a sharp command, and Stark men began to move. Stannis was visible across the courtyard, watching from the shadows near Robert's litter, his face like carved stone. Even from here, Bywater could feel his fury. Tight, contained, waiting for an excuse to become steel. Bywater leaned closer to the runner. "If you lie," he said quietly, "I'll feed you to the river." "I'm not lying," the man whimpered. "I'm not. She had a flask, green glass. She said it burns." Bywater's eyes narrowed. "Alchemists," he muttered. He straightened. "Bind him," he ordered. "Take him to the Tower of the Hand. Tell Lord Stark everything he said, word for word. Then bring more men here. No one comes out of this door alive unless I decide they should." His men moved fast, dragging the runner away. Smoke continued to curl from the seam, tasting of panic and damp straw. Bywater planted himself at the river door with spear points bristling around him and listened to the stone. From within, faint shouts, coughing, the scrape of boots on narrow stairs. Somewhere inside those walls, the lioness was trying to slip away. Bywater's eyes went flat. Not this time, he thought. Not while the city is finally learning that treason has a price. The corridor was too narrow for honor. It forced men close. It made every swing cramped. It made every mistake final. Torchlight flickered in the smoke and turned white armor into ghosts and red cloaks into wounds. Barristan Selmy stepped into the corridor and found Meryn Trant waiting. The Kingsguard knight's white cloak was cleaner than it had any right to be. His eyes were small and hard. His sword was already out, angled to catch the first man who came through. "Lord Commander," Meryn said, voice flat, "you've chosen poorly." Barristan's expression did not change. "I chose my vows," he replied. Meryn's lips curled. "Your vows are to the crown," he said. "The crown sits on the Queen's son." Barristan's gaze was steady. "The crown sits where the king sits," he said. "And the king sits above you." Meryn shifted, weight settling. "The king is wounded," he said, "and weak. The queen is strong." Arys Oakheart stood between them, sword half-raised, shoulders tense. His eyes darted from Barristan to Meryn and back again, as if the stone walls were trying to crush him with choice. "Ser Arys," Barristan said softly. "Step aside." Arys swallowed. "I swore," he began. "You swore to Robert Baratheon," Barristan said. "Not to a woman's pride." Meryn laughed, short and nasty. "Step aside and live, Oakheart," he said. "Or stand with Selmy and die for a dying boar." Ned felt his fingers tighten on his sword hilt behind Barristan. He could hear his own breath, harsh in his throat. He could smell the sour tang of smoke and the copper of fresh blood. He could feel time stretching thin like a wire about to snap. Arys's face twisted. For a heartbeat, Ned thought he would break the wrong way. Then Arys stepped sideways, slow and deliberate, placing himself not with Meryn and not fully with Barristan, yet clearing the line so Barristan could pass. Barristan did not hesitate. He moved. Meryn's sword came up in a fast, ugly cut aimed for Barristan's throat. Barristan turned his shoulder, letting the blade scrape his mail, and answered with a thrust that would have killed a lesser man. Meryn twisted just enough, and the point slid along his side instead of sinking deep. He hissed, then came back with a second cut, stronger. Steel rang against stone. Barristan fought like a man who had nothing left to prove and everything left to lose. His strikes were simple, precise.
No flerist, no wastid motion.
Each movement was a lesson. Meryn fought like a man who relied on others' fear. When Barristan did not fear, Meryn's aggression turned sloppy, desperate. Ned saw the opening before Barristan took it. A faint hitch in Meryn's stance, favoring his wounded side. Barristan stepped in, blade low, and cut across Meryn's sword arm. Mail parted. Blood sprang. Meryn's sword dropped with a clatter. Meryn stared at his own useless hand for an instant, disbelief flickering across his face like a candle guttering. Barristan's sword point rose to his throat. "Yield," Barristan said. Meryn's eyes burned. "To you," he spat. "To a relic?" "To the king," Barristan corrected. Meryn's mouth twisted. He reached for a dagger with his uninjured hand. Ned moved. He surged forward, catching Meryn's wrist and slamming it into the wall hard enough to jar bone. The dagger fell. Ned's sword pressed against Meryn's ribs. "Do not," Ned said, voice low. Meryn's breath came fast, eyes darting. He looked, suddenly, like a small thing in a narrow place. Barristan's gaze held no triumph, only weary certainty. "Bind him," Barristan said. A Stark man stepped in with rope, hands quick. Meryn snarled, struggling, but the corridor gave him nowhere to run. Within moments his wrists were tied, his sword arm bound tight against his body. Arys Oakheart stood very still, eyes fixed on the floor as if he could not bear to watch a brother knight fall. Barristan looked at him. "You chose," he said softly. Arys lifted his gaze. His eyes were wet. "I chose not to kill you," he whispered. Barristan's mouth tightened. "Then choose again," he said, "for the king. Or step aside and let other men decide your fate." Arys's jaw worked. He nodded once, stiff and pained. "For the king," he said. Ned did not trust him. Not yet. But he accepted the words because there was no time for purity. From deeper within the holdfast came a scream. Female. Furious. Cut short. Cersei, Ned thought. Barristan turned his head toward that sound, eyes sharpening again. "Move," he said. They left Meryn Trant bound in the corridor like a discarded oath and pushed deeper into Maegor's stone heart, where the lioness ran and the walls themselves tried to help her. The stable tunnel stank of old hay and piss and damp stone. It ran low and cramped, forcing Cersei to stoop. Her cloak snagged on rough edges. Water dripped from the ceiling in slow, steady taps that felt like a clock counting down her life. One of the guards ahead held a torch. Its flame shivered, throwing her shadow long and warped along the walls. She kept her breathing shallow. She kept her mind tighter still. 2 turns. A narrow stair. A second door hidden behind a rusted iron grate that no one bothered to look at because it looked like part of the stable drain. Maegor's gifts. Her men reached the grate and began to work the mechanism. An old lever set into stone. It groaned as it shifted, the sound too loud in the close air. "Hurry," Cersei hissed. The guard glanced back, face slick with sweat. "It's stuck," he muttered. "Rusht." "Then break it," she snapped. "Do you want to die here?" The guard threw his shoulder into the lever again. Metal shrieked. The grate lifted a few inches. Cold air rushed in, and with it, voices. "Hold!" a man barked. Spear points slid into view beyond the gap, their tips gleaming. Torchlight outside flared bright as day compared to the tunnel's dimness. Through the widening slit, Cersei saw a ring of gold cloaks, cloaks pinned tight, faces set, and at their center, Jacelyn Bywater. His eyes met hers through the gap as if he had been waiting for this moment all his life. "Your Grace," Bywater said, and there was no reverence in it. "You should have stayed in your stone." One of her guards swore and reached for his sword. A spear point jabbed forward immediately, pinning the man's arm against the grate. He cried out. Cersei's hand tightened around the green glass flask. "Open the gate," Bywater ordered. "Slowly, then step out. Alone." Cersei laughed, a short, harsh sound that echoed in the tunnel. "You think I'll walk into your spears like a lamb?" she asked. "I think you're cornered," Bywater replied. "And cornered beasts are dangerous, but they still bleed." Cersei's mind raced. She could throw the flask now, blind them, burn them, create a gap. But the tunnel was narrow. If the fire caught wrong, it would rebound, trap her in smoke and screaming flesh. She looked at her guards. 2 men. Loyal enough to die for coin and fear, not enough to win. She looked back at Bywater. His men held steady.
No hesitation.
No wavering like Slint's dogs. These were men who had seen treason's head roll and decided they liked their own heads attached. Cersei's teeth clenched. "You serve Robert now," she said. "You think he'll reward you? He will die, Bywater. He is a wound with a crown. When he dies, Stannis will rule, and Stannis will not reward you. He will use you until you snap and then throw you aside." Bywater's expression did not shift. "Perhaps," he said, "but you won't be there to see it." The words hit harder than any threat. Cersei felt rage flare, bright and sudden. She lifted the flask. Bywater's eyes narrowed. "Drop it," he said. Cersei smiled. "No," she said. She hurled the flask not at Bywater, but at the torch on the wall beside the exit. Glass shattered. Green liquid splashed. Flame caught. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the air ignited. A sheet of harsh green fire bloomed, licking up the stone and spilling outward. Men shouted. Spears jerked back. A gold cloak screamed as the flame kissed his sleeve and raced up it like a living thing. Cersei threw herself forward, cloak over her face, pushing through the brief chaos as the guards behind her screamed and flailed. One tried to follow and was caught by a spear thrust in the confusion. He went down, burning, mouth open in a sound that never became a word. Cersei burst into the open air, lungs clawing for breath, eyes streaming. Bywater was there. He moved with brutal speed, not hesitating, his sword hilt slamming into her ribs. Pain exploded. She staggered, breath knocked out. A gauntlet hand seized her wrist, twisting. Her fingers opened. Nothing left to throw, nothing left to bargain with. She tried to claw. She tried to scream. Someone caught her hair and yanked her head back hard enough that her eyes flashed white. "Bind her," Bywater snarled. Rope bit into her wrists. Hands shoved her down to her knees on cold, wet stone. The green flame behind her guttered and died as men threw water and cloaks over it, coughing, swearing. Cersei sucked in a breath that tasted of smoke and humiliation. Bywater crouched in front of her, eyes flat. "You're done," he said quietly. Cersei bared her teeth. "I'm a lion," she whispered. "We're never done." Bywater's gaze did not flinch. "Tell it to the king," he said. He stood and jerked her up by the rope like a captured thief. As they dragged Cersei away from the stable drain, the Red Keep's torches flared above, and the castle that had once been her stage became her cage. They brought her through the yard as if dragging a banner through mud. Cersei's gown was smeared with soot. Her hair had come loose, golden strands sticking to her face. Her hands were bound behind her back, rope biting into skin. She kept her chin up anyway, eyes hard, refusing to give the watching men the satisfaction of seeing her break. Robert stared at her from his litter, and for a heartbeat the courtyard fell into that awful hush again. The hush of a crowd sensing that history was about to choose a direction. "Cersei Lannister," Robert said. The words were rough, not from fear, from the fact that saying her name now, with her on her knees, meant admitting how thoroughly she had made a fool of him. Cersei's mouth curved faintly. "My king," she said, and the mockery was a blade. Robert's eyes narrowed. "You tried to take Stark's daughters," he said. Cersei's gaze flicked, just once, toward Ned. "I did no such thing," she said smoothly. "If men fought at river stairs, blame your hand. He brings war like a plague wherever he goes." Ned's voice was low. "Your men wore no colors," he said, "but they carried your intent. And your men killed Janos Slint," she countered.
Men die in chaos.
"You call it justice when it serves you." Stannis stepped forward, jaw clenched. "Enough," he said. "You are bound. You are caught. You will answer for your crimes." Cersei looked at him as if he were something stuck to her shoe. "Ah," she said, "the air. How proud you must be, Stannis. Dragging a queen through mud while your brother bleeds in bed. You always wanted your moment." Stannis's hand tightened on his sword hilt. "I want your head," he said. Cersei's smile sharpened. "So does every small man with a big grievance," she said. Robert's voice cracked across them. Silence. The yard stilled. Robert leaned forward on his litter, the movement costing him. "You will stand trial," he said. "Not because you deserve it, because the realm needs to see law done. You will not wriggle out of this with tunnels and pretty words." Cersei's eyes glittered. "Trial," she repeated, "in front of men who already decided my guilt. How noble. You will be held in the Tower of the Hand," Robert continued, "under guard that answers to Ned Stark and Barristan Selmy, not to Stannis's temper." Stannis's nostrils flared, but he did not speak. "And the children," Robert said, voice tightening. "Myrcella and Tommen are under the crown's protection. They will be moved from this castle before night, beyond your reach." At that, Cersei's mask slipped, just a fraction. Her eyes widened. The mother flashed through the queen. "No," she said, and for the first time the words sounded real. "You will not take them from me." "You already lost one," Robert said coldly. Cersei's gaze snapped to him, fury blazing. "You don't know what you've lost," she hissed. "You think you can cage lions and not be eaten later. You think you can name your sour brother heir and have the realm clap." Robert's mouth twisted. "Where is the boy?" he demanded. Cersei's lips parted, then closed. She said nothing. Stannis's voice went like iron. "Speak," he said, "or I will make you." Cersei looked at him and laughed, low and cruel. "You can make me scream," she said. "You can't make me give you what you want." Ned felt a chill, not from fear of torture, from the realization that she was stalling, still stalling even on her knees. Robert saw it too. He looked past her to Bywater. "Joffrey," he rasped. Bywater's face was tight. "Gone, your grace," he said, "smuggled out through tunnels. We caught her at a stable exit, but the boy was already away." A murmur rippled through the yard like wind through dead grass. Robert closed his eyes for a heartbeat, and when he opened them, something in him had hardened. The mercy that had been a leash snapped. "Then hear me," Robert said, voice carrying. "Joffrey, styled Baratheon, is in flight from his king. Any lord who shelters him shelters treason. Any man who raises a banner for him raises it against the Iron Throne itself. He turned his head slightly, forcing his voice louder despite the pain. Send ravens to every corner. The realm will know. Stannis's eyes shone with grim approval. Ned's stomach tightened. Cersei stared at Robert, and for the first time Ned saw something like dread flicker behind her anger. Not for herself, for the knowledge that her son, now loose in the realm, would be hunted by law and steel alike, unless Tywin moved faster than ravens. Robert looked down at her. You thought you could play mercy like a chain, he said. You thought you could take hostages and slip away through stone. You were wrong. Cersei lifted her chin. No, she whispered. I was early. Robert's hand trembled on the litter edge. Take her, he said. Lock her up. As gold cloaks hauled Cersei to her feet, she twisted her head, eyes searching the yard for Myrcella and Tommen. She found them at a distance, guarded, frightened, watching her like children watching a storm swallow their home. Myrcella, she shouted, voice cracking at last. Tommen. Tommen's lower lip trembled. Myrcella stood very still, tears shining. Ned turned away. He could not bear to watch a mother pulled from her children, even when that mother was Cersei Lannister. But he did not stop it, because the realm was already burning, and mercy without limits had become just another way to die. The river felt endless in the dark. Fog wrapped the water in a damp shroud, swallowing sound and shape. The oars dipped and rose, steady and urgent, each stroke carrying the boat farther from the Red Keep's stone teeth. Behind them, King's Landing's torchlight was only a faint smear against the horizon, as if the city were already becoming a bad dream. Sansa sat hunched beneath her cloak, shaking, fingers clenched so tight around the wool that her knuckles were white. Tears slid down her cheeks without sound, lost to the mist and the cold. Arya sat opposite, back straight, needle hidden but present against her ribs like a heartbeat. She stared over Sansa's shoulder toward the dark behind them, eyes burning. He's dead, Sansa whispered suddenly, so softly Arya nearly missed it. Arya's throat tightened. He's not, she said, though she did not know. She had not seen Syrio fall. She had seen him standing. She clung to that image as if it were truth made solid. Sansa shook her head. Ser Meryn, she whispered. I saw him. I saw his face at the top of the stairs. He was smiling. Her voice broke. They'll kill Syrio. They'll kill. They won't, Arya said fiercely, because if she said anything else the river would swallow her too. One of the guards, Harwin's cousin, thick-shouldered and silent, glanced back at them. No talking, he muttered. Save your breath. Keep your hoods up. Sansa flinched and lowered her eyes. Arya did not. She watched the fog, the water, the faint suggestion of riverbanks sliding past, and she thought of the moment Syrio had shouted, "Feet!" with the river already carrying her away. He had not begged. He had not wept. He had done what he always did, put his body between her and danger and called it a lesson. Sansa's hand shook as she wiped her face. Father is still there, she whispered, and he sent us away to keep us alive, Arya said. He's not stupid. Sansa let out a small, broken laugh. No, she said, he's not. He's just cruel. She swallowed. To me, to my dreams. Arya's anger flared, quick and hot. Your dreams got Jory killed? She snapped, then regretted it when Sansa's face crumpled. Sansa's eyes flashed. I didn't kill anyone, she hissed. I didn't ask for any of this. Neither did I, Arya shot back. But it came anyway. The guards splashed harder, warning. They fell silent, breathing the same damp air, listening to the river's dark voice. Ahead, a larger shape emerged from the fog. Another boat, bigger, lantern-hooded low. The guards tensed, oars pausing for a heartbeat. A soft call drifted across the water. Stark colors. Our colors, Harwin's cousin called back. The larger boat drew closer, revealing men in northern cloaks, and behind them the shadow of a small river barge tied off beneath the bank. horses waiting with heads lowered. "Change over," one of the newcomers murmured. "Quick, no lights." Sansa stared at the horses with dread. "More riding," she whispered. Arya felt relief cut through her tension like clean air. Movement meant survival. Stillness meant being caught. They transferred in silence. Sansa helped across, stumbling, Arya stepping lightly, guards swapping positions and murmuring directions. The barge would take them farther downriver toward a waiting ship, beyond the city's reach. As Arya climbed, she looked back one last time. King's Landing's glow was even smaller now. A faint orange bruise on the horizon. Somewhere in that bruise, her father fought lions and stags and spiders in a stone maze. Somewhere, her dancing master stood or lay, on slick steps with blood pooling. Arya's jaw clenched until it hurt. "I'm coming back," she whispered to the fog, to the city, to anyone listening. "One day," Sansa heard and shivered. "I never want to see that place again," she whispered. Arya did not answer. The river carried them onward, dark and indifferent, while the realm behind them tore itself apart in torchlight and steel. They landed before dawn where the riverbank turned wild and reed-choked. The boat slid into mud with a soft suck, and cloaked men hauled it in without speaking. Horses waited under low trees, their breath steaming, tack already fitted. The air smelled of wet earth and cold water and the faint tang of smoke from a hidden campfire. Joffrey climbed out and immediately sank ankle-deep in mud. He swore, loud and furious, and one of the men in plain cloaks glanced at him with barely concealed contempt. "Careful," Jaime said, mounting his horse with a smoothness that made the mud seem beneath him. "If you curse too loudly, the river will answer with wolves." "Let it," Joffrey snarled, wiping mud from his boot with his cloak. "I'll have their pelts." Sandor Clegane stood nearby, scanning the tree line, one hand resting on his greatsword's hilt as if it were an extension of his arm. He looked like he expected an arrow at any moment. "We ride," Jaime said. "No lights, no songs, only road." A man stepped forward with a small raven cage, eyes down. "Sire," he murmured to Jaime, "for Lord Tywin." Jaime took the raven, fingers quick. He tied the message to its leg. Short, hard lines, no ornament. Joffrey watched, impatient. "Tell him to come," he snapped. "Tell him to bring every man and burn King's Landing." Jaime's hand paused for a heartbeat. He did not look at Joffrey as he spoke. "Tywin Lannister will decide what to bring," he said, "and what to burn. He does not take orders from boys." Joffrey's face flushed. "I'm not a boy," he hissed. Jaime finally looked at him. His gaze was flat. "Not yet," he said. "If you want to be more than a tantrum with a crown, you will learn the difference between power and noise." Joffrey's fists clenched. For a heartbeat it looked as if he might strike Jaime, madness and pride colliding. Then Sandor's hand came down on his shoulder like a weight. "Ride," Sandor growled, "or I'll ride you." Joffrey swallowed hard and swung up onto the horse offered. He rode poorly, stiff in the saddle, angry at every jolt. The men around him moved with the quiet efficiency of those who had done ugly work before and expected to do more. Jaime released the raven. It beat upward into the fading fog, wings cutting gray air, vanishing toward the west. "Now," Jaime said, and they set off. They rode hard along back roads, avoiding towns, avoiding bridges where men asked questions. Joffrey's legs ached from the unfamiliar strain. His cloak grew heavy with damp. His hatred kept him upright. As the sky lightened, he looked back once, toward where King's Landing lay unseen beyond miles of river and road. He imagined his mother alone behind stone, captured or still fighting in shadows. He imagined Robert Baratheon roaring in a courtyard, pretending to be king again. He imagined Ned Stark's cold eyes. He imagined Stannis's hard mouth. He imagined them all laughing at him. His throat tightened. "I'll make them beg," he whispered. Jaime heard, and for once did not mock it. "First," he said quietly, "you survive, then you learn to wait, then you make them kneel." Joffrey clenched his jaw and rode, letting the words settle like stones in his chest. He did not know that ravens would reach other castles too. That the same dawn that carried his message west would carry Robert's message everywhere else. The realm was waking, and it would wake angry. The raven reached Highgarden at noon. Renly read the words twice and smiled the way a man smiled when the gods finally admitted they had been listening. Cersei captured. Holdfast breached. Joffrey escaped. Robert alive. Still stubborn, still roaring his claim into the realm. It was a chaos of truths that could be shaped into one simple story. The crown was breaking. In the field outside Highgarden, the Reach had gathered like a sea of green and gold. Banners snapped in the wind. Roses, stags, foxes, apples, towers, an orchard of power made flesh. Men laughed and shouted and drank as if war were already a feast they had been invited to. Mace Tyrell looked swollen with pride. Loras was all sharp intensity, eyes bright. Margaery stood just behind Renly, composed as ever, her smile small and careful. Olenna sat on a chair brought out for her, shaded from the sun, eyes narrowed as she watched the army like a woman judging the ripeness of fruit. Renly lifted the raven's message so his nearest lords could see the seal. "The lioness is caged," he called, voice carrying. "The boy fled like a thief in the night. The king bleeds and his hard brother sharpens his knife. And Lord Stark believes paper can hold a realm together." A murmur, laughter, eager. "And what does that mean for us?" shouted a young lord, cheeks flushed with wine and ambition. Renly's smile widened. "It means the realm will choose," he said. "And men will not choose a sour lord of Dragonstone who offers only fear and punishment. They will not choose a wounded king who finally found sense only after blood. They will choose the man who can bind them, storm lords and reachmen, knights and smallfolk, with hope." Loras stepped forward and held up the simple golden circlet Renly had once worn on his wrist like a secret. "You have the army," Loras said, voice steady. "You have the rose. You have the stag. Say the word." Renly looked out over the sea of faces. Some were true believers. Some were calculating. Some were simply following the strongest scent of victory. It did not matter. An army did not need love. It needed momentum. He lifted his chin. "I am Renly of House Baratheon," he said. "Brother to King Robert, lawful Lord of Storms end by blood and right. And I will not see the realm delivered into Stannis's clenched fist or Tywin's gold chain. I will take the crown and hold it for a better future." Mace Tyrell beamed. Men roared. The sound rolled like thunder over fields and vines. Loras raised the crown. For a heartbeat, Renly thought of Robert. His brother's laugh, his crude affection. The way he had once thrown an arm around Renly's shoulders and called him the only bright thing in a room. Then he thought of Stannis's eyes, hard and judging. He thought of Ned Stark's rigid honor. He thought of Joffrey on the run. He thought of how quickly men died when kings argued. He let the sentiment die. He bowed his head. The crown settled onto his hair, cool and light, and the roar that rose from the Reach was so loud it felt like the world itself was cheering. Renly straightened as a king. "Send ravens," he said to Mace and Loras, voice already taking the cadence of command. "To every lord who wavers, tell them the realm has a new choice. Tell them the roses and stags ride together." He looked out over the army again, and his smile sharpened into something almost predatory. "And saddle the horses," he added. "We march." Behind him, Olenna Tyrell watched and murmured to no one in particular, "Pretty things are fragile." Then she smiled. "But fragile things can still cut, if you hold them right." Night pressed against the tower of the hand like a fist. The wind rattled the shutters. Somewhere below, locks clanked as Bywater's men changed watch. The castle did not sleep now. It only shifted. Ned stood over his map with letters spread like wounds across it. Ravens from everywhere, Winterfell, Riverrun, the Vale, even Old Town, each with questions, offers, fears. And now one more. Renly crowned, the ink said. Renly crowned at Highgarden with Tyrell banners behind him. Ned read it once, then again, feeling something heavy settle in his chest. Stannis's voice drifted from the archway, hard and clipped as he spoke to Davos. "He is a traitor," Stannis was saying. "A crowned traitor. The Reach will bleed for him, and the realm will burn." Davos's reply was lower. "Men like him," he murmured. "They'll follow the smile if they think it wins." Ned rubbed a hand over his face. He felt older than he had at the start of this war, and it had only just begun. A soft footstep sounded behind him. He did not turn at first. He did not need to. "Lord Stark," Varys said gently. Ned's fingers tightened on the parchment under his hand. "You are bold," he said, "showing your face after the boy fled." Varys stepped into the candlelight, hands folded, expression mild enough to insult. "Faces are useful," he said. "They allow men to speak." "Speak then," Ned said. Varys's eyes flicked to the letters. "King Robert's ravens fly fast," he murmured. "So do Queen Cersei's whispers, even in chains. And now Lord Renly crowns himself. The realm is lively." Ned's mouth tightened. "You helped Joffrey escape," he said. Varys did not deny it outright. "He did something worse." He looked regretful, as if the matter were an unfortunate misunderstanding. "I helped prevent a slaughter," he said softly. "Had the parley in the courtyard collapsed into blades again, more children would have died. You know that." Ned's voice went cold. "My daughters were nearly taken," he said. Varys's eyes lowered. "Yes," he murmured, "and they escaped, because someone warned men who could move quickly." Ned's stomach twisted. "You knew," he said. "You knew she would strike at them." "I knew she would try," Varys admitted. "Cersei's mind is not subtle. It is sharp but direct. A trapped lioness bites what is nearest." "And you let her bite," Ned said. Varys lifted his gaze again, and for the first time Ned saw something hard behind the softness. "I cannot stop every bite," Varys said. "I can only try to keep the beast from sinking its teeth into the realm's throat." Ned stepped closer, voice low. "Where is Joffrey?" he demanded. Varys's lips parted, then closed. "On the road," he said. "West. That is all you need to know." "It is not all I need to know," Ned snapped. "It is all I can give," Varys replied. "If I give you more, I place myself on a spike beside Yanoslint. And then who listens to the next whisper that might save your king?" Ned stared at him, rage and exhaustion warring. "You should be in chains," he said. "Yes," Varys murmured. "Perhaps. But you have bigger fires to watch than my small candle." His gaze slid toward the archway where Stannis' silhouette moved. "Lord Stannis would hang me by sunrise if given the choice. You, Lord Stark, might try a trial. King Robert..." He smiled faintly. "King Robert threatens and then remembers he needs someone to count shadows." Ned did not like how true it sounded. "What do you want?" Ned asked. Varys's expression softened again, the mask sliding back into place. "I want the realm to survive," he said. "And for that, you need to know this. Renly moves sooner than you think. He will march with Tyrell's strength and call himself savior from Stannis' harshness and Robert's bleeding weakness. He will offer the small folk songs. He will offer lords' marriages. He will offer coin." Ned's jaw tightened. "And Tywin?" he asked. Varys's eyes flickered. "Tywin will not be slow," he said. "Not now that his daughter is caged and his grandson is loose. He will make the Riverlands scream louder. So the crown must choose between defending its own city and defending its lords. He will try to stretch you thin." Ned looked down at the map, at the pins in his mind. King's Landing, Riverrun, Highgarden, Casterly Rock. "Then what should I do?" he asked, and hated that he was asking. Varys stepped closer, voice low enough to feel like a secret. "Keep your king alive," he said. "Keep Stannis from turning justice into a blade that cuts your allies. Keep your daughters far from the lioness's reach. And..." His smile turned sad. Do not assume the men who smile at you today will not bury a knife in you tomorrow. Ned's gaze hardened. Including you, he said. Especially me, Varys replied. From the archway, Stannis' voice rose, sharp. Stark, he called. We have word. Cersei is secured. The Holdfast is ours. Now we must decide how to answer Renly's crown. Ned held Varys' gaze one last moment. If you betray us again, he said quietly, I will not hesitate. Varys bowed. I would expect nothing less, he murmured. Then he slipped back into the shadows as if he had never been there. Ned turned toward the archway where Stannis waited, and beyond him, the long dark road of choices. Outside, the wind rattled the windows again, and somewhere in the city a bell tolled slow, steady, like a heartbeat counting down to war.